What is going on, guys? It is DigiWatch coming to you with another deck profile. Now, I'm very excited to showcase my first BT11 deck profile of 2023. This is my BlackWarGreymon deck for BT11 format, and I'm really excited to show you this because this might actually be the deck I choose to take for Nationals if I decide to go. I'm still a little bit under financial stress, so I'm trying to figure out whether or not I am actually going to go. But if I do go, this is probably going to be in the top contenders of what deck I am going to use. So with that said, let's go over it. Now, I know that there is a red version of this deck, and most of the Digitubers I've seen online have already covered the red version. I want to be the one to start with the black version, and I really think that this is a much more consistent build than most of the red builds. I'd love to play test or even proxy against other people if they want to try it out and see what will come victorious. But with that said, we're gonna go over this, and I'm gonna talk about some of the choices I've chosen for this deck to make it good against what I suspect to be the meta in BT11. So starting things off with the eggs, we have Caporium, Tumblemon, and Hotmon. Now, obviously, there's 6 eggs here. This is kind of just some choices that you can choose from, but Caporium here is when this Digimon has reboot and it gains 1,000. Our level 6s mostly have reboot, so automatically we'll have 1,000 additional. Tumblemon, kind of the same effect, but on your opponent's turn, if this Digimon has blocker, it gains 1,000. There's only like the Greymon here that gives it blocker, so it is okay, but it's not always consistent. The one I find to be the most consistent, honestly, is going to be the Hotmon from EX2. While you have a Black Tamer in play, this gets 1,000 DP. Now, the reason why I think this is actually a really good card for it is because we do play a couple of Black Tamers in this deck, and you could see over here that it says 56 out of 50. There are some other choice cards I might like mix in and out. I just wanted to give a couple of options, but most of the time you're going to have a Black Tamer in play, which means that your guy will have at least 1,000 additional DP. I am still open to any other egg suggestions, though, if people are looking to comment and say, I want to play this egg, or I think this is a better egg. So starting things off with our rookies, we are going to go over the new Guyomon X Antibody. This is from BT11. It's a 4 to drop, 0 to Digivolve. It's a 0 from Guyomon also to Digivolve. That means a red or a black or any Guyomon, honestly. 3,000 DP. When Digivolving on play, reveal the top 3 of your deck. Add 1 Greymon or X Antibody relating to the option card in his name, and 1 Black Tamer among them to your hand. Rest go to bottom. Additionally, it has inherited effect, which is a very powerful effect and also one that gets repeated later on. We'll see. When this Digimon has Greymon or Omnimon in its name and an effect would delete it, return it to hand or deck, you can return 1 X Antibody in this Digivolution Digimon's Digivolution cards to the bottom of its owner's deck to prevent it from leaving play. Now, I do think that this is a very powerful effect, especially for having a rookie in play with it. That means that you may not need to even go as high as you usually would with this Greymon, with the Guyomon or Greymon line. But most of the time, it's just an extra body to get a search on. Now, the thing is that it is a 4-drop, so you most of the time don't want to actually like drop it out. You want to Digivolve it on top of a card. A good play, I would say, is like if you play a Nokia in this deck and you play like the Black Guyomon from it, then you get the search from this, but you also get to play for free the Guyomon X Antibody. When Digivolving, look at the top 3, and then get your extra pieces. So you can kind of get a bunch of cards just from dropping 1 Guyomon if your opponent puts you to 3. Speaking of, we are playing 4 copies of the Guyomon from BT8. This is reveal the top 4, add a Greymon and a card with Dragonkin in its traits to your hand, the rest go to bottom. It's your main searcher. It is good because it gets you 4 cards deep. The red one that is from BT5 gets you 3 cards deep. So this card does get you more pieces a little bit quicker. If you sometimes don't have all that reach or need like to search your deck a little bit like more deeper. Then for our other rookies, we are playing 2 copies of Caporium. While this Digimon has 2 or more colors, it gains 1,000 DP all turns. All turns is very important, and I'll talk about why later. And then you have the Guyomon here that is a blocker. And the only reason, honestly, this is in the deck is because it is another Agumon that you can Digivolve the Agumon X Antibody onto, so you have an extra copy. There unfortunately aren't that many black Agumons, but you know, you could basically use this as an extra protection, especially if your opponent is trying to maybe hit all your security in one check and you just have this out, or they hit like an Agumon. You know, you have a Nokia plays this Agumon out, and you block an additional attack. Going on to our champion lineup, we have the Greymon from BT2. While this Digimon has reboot, which our level 6s mostly do, it gains jamming, which means it cannot get deleted by, it can't lose a battle with a Digimon in your opponent's security. Your Greymon here is the one from BT8. Most of you probably know what it already does, but basically inherit, if you have a red Digimon in play, it gains blocker. But the card we're really focused on here is the Greymon X Antibody. Now this card is really good. First off, it's a 5 to drop, so it's not that bad just playing this out if you don't have any other options. But it is a 3 to Digivolve over, which is sometimes it's one more than normal, but sometimes it's okay. You know, it is what it is. But you can also Digivolve for 0 over a Greymon. And then your turn, when this Digimon will Digivolve into a card with Greymon's name, reduce the cost by 1 for each color of that card. So if you are Digivolving to any card with Greymon, then you reduce the cost by 1. And sometimes that's good for a card we'll talk about when we get to Ultimates. But most of our level 5s are dual color, so at the very least, they will reduce the cost by 2. Additionally, it has the same effect as Agumon X Antibody, where if you have an X Antibody in its Digivolution cards, you can put it to the bottom of your deck in order to protect it from being deleted or returned to hand or deck. So this is a very, very powerful card in my opinion. I do think that this card will see a lot of play, and most of the time it will be at 4. Now, going to our ultimate lineup, we have the new Metal Greymon X Antibody, and this card is probably the all-star of the entire deck, being able to do multiple things and just have so much protection in this deck. So first off, it Digivolves for 1 over a Metal Greymon, and as I mentioned before, it is a 4 cost to Digivolve, so most of the time you can just reduce the cost by 2 and Digivolve on your Greymon X Antibody for 2, even if you don't have a Metal Greymon underneath it. Then, of course, you have when Digivolving until the end of your opponent's turn, your opponent's effects can't reduce this Digimon's DP and can't de-Digivolve. So this protects it from decks like Machinedramon that has a very strong de-Digivolve mechanic with Chaosdramon or D-Brigade, as well as against stuff like Security Control and Yellow cannot DP reduce is a very powerful effect to protect it. Now, when you combine this idea with the concept of the Greymon X Antibodies over here, saying you can't bounce it and you cannot delete it, that has pretty much protection from every big color in the game, at least by like one level of protection from it. So your opponent tries to create highest breath, you're playing a blue deck, you can use the Greymon X Antibody effect. If you have attacking a yellow deck and they have a Wyvern's Breath in there, you won't have to worry because it can't be DP reduced. So it's just something to keep in mind. This is a very, very powerful card. Now, it's inherited is mainly why this deck is as powerful as it is. Its opponent's turn, once per turn, when a Digimon becomes unsuspended, if this Digimon's name contains Greymon or Omnimon, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. So this is one of your main win cons for this deck, in that you will Digivolve into your level 6. Your level 6 will have reboot, so it unsuspends. And then because it unsuspends on your opponent's turn, because reboot takes place on your opponent's turn, it trashes the top card. So don't worry about multiple security checks. You can literally do 1 check to security and still do 2 security. They still lose 2 securities. Now, we are playing 3 copies of the Metal Greymon from BT8. The Digivolve 1, it can attack unsuspended. There's not much to talk about. That we all know what this card does. It's very powerful. We just have to make sure we have enough room for other cards that we are going to be playing. Now, the one tech I am throwing in here is the Metal Greymon from BT9. It's security +1, and then it gives your Digimon 3,000 if it's over a Metal Greymon, or until the end of your opponent's next turn. I'll talk about why that's important later down the line, but it also is a level of aggression that you can use against your opponent. Yes, you won't be trashing the top of their security on your opponent's turn, but you do get the extra 3000 DP and security +1, which our top end here is going to be way stronger than most of Digimon in this game. So let's go over them. First, we have the new BlackWarGreymon X Antibody. This card is so fire. First off, it is a 13 cost to play, 13,000 DP, 5 to Digivolve from red or black, but 2 to Digivolve if it's over a BlackWarGreymon. It has Reboot, and Reboot's important, of course, for all those effects I mentioned before, with jamming, with the ability of Metal Greymon X Antibody. So that is very powerful. But on the opponent's turn, once per turn, when your opponent's Digimon with the highest DP attacks, you can switch it to this Digimon over here. And that is a very important mechanic I'll mention over here. So I guess I could start talking about it now. Part of the way I built this deck is to allow it to win against one mechanic, I should say, or one way of winning, which is the just straight up battle. Your opponent can actually battle this Digimon and win. It doesn't really have much protection from just being swung over. And the decks that are going to mainly be doing that are stuff like Greymon, BlackWarGreymon decks, and stuff like Grandis or green decks that can suspend this Digimon. And because it could be blocker, but it's more like a redirect effect for that first effect, you want the DP to be high. So one of the things I wanted to do with this deck is give it enough DP so I wouldn't have to worry too much about those matchups. Caporium, for example, is when this Digimon has 2 or more colors, gain 1000 DP. This card has 2 colors, so automatically it's at 14. And then, of course, if you were to Digivolve into Metal Greymon X Antibody, it will have 3000 additional DP, so automatically that's 4000, that's 17,000 right there. But Grandis can get pretty high. I think the max it could really go right now is 18,000 without any other additional effects. But I'll talk about a way of actually getting higher than that in just a moment. Additionally, just something to mention is with all these other effects here, with the protection effects that these 2 cards give it, it protects it against like security control and decks like that are high in like using Chaos Degrade or anything that can really get rid of it. So it is a way of countering those decks as well. Of course, we were playing the BlackWarGreymon. Oh, I didn't even finish this. I'm sorry. The second effect here is when this Digimon becomes unsuspended, if it has a BlackWarGreymon or X Antibody in its sources, you can delete one of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest play cost. So if your opponent somehow has like an extra body on field and they promote out, you can automatically delete the lowest DP before that Digimon comes out, and then if they are going to attack, you can always redirect it to this card. But going back to what I mentioned before, being able to get this DP very high on your opponent's turn, at least for one turn, is very important. BlackWarGreymon here, of course, is your control card. If you have red sources underneath it, delete Digimon up to play cost of 6. If you have black sources, it's up to it's Tamers with the same kind of effect, up to 6, play cost of 6. And then you can mix and match, of course, if you have red and black. So if they have like a rookie that's a level 3 and then like a Tamer that's a 3, you could delete both. All turns, when a opponent's Digimon is deleted, you can unsuspend this Digimon. So that is also a very good way of clearing your opponent's board. So I am throwing 2 of those in. Now for our top end, of course, we have Guyomon. Guyomon is everything basically that we just talked about. But it's also a very powerful X Antibody card that has security +1, it has reboot, it has 1 Digivolving if this Digimon has a black Digivolution card, de-Digivolve 1, and it also has Blitz. So while I would say BlackWarGreymon X Antibody is sort of the defensive option of your opponent's turn, and you have this way of redirecting attacks, Guyomon is sort of there to put on the aggression. And this will not be able to Digivolve over the BlackWarGreymon X Antibody, but BlackWarGreymon X Antibody, it can actually Digivolve on top of this, I believe. Not 100% certain. But yeah, that's like a mention over here. I might be wrong about the Guyomon. Then we have 1 Death X, because it's Death X, not going to spend too much time of it. If your opponent goes wide, it's a very powerful card. If you're playing stuff like Cross Hearts, this is a good counter to it. And it just helps control the board a little bit more. Then you have Omnimon X Antibody, of course, because we are playing an X Antibody deck. This has to be in it. You can Digivolve for basically a cost of 5 because you get that reduction of 2. But I love the fact that you do have an alternate means of getting rid of bodies. If they have somehow a deletion protection effect, you can also spin them to the deck. Plus, you can look at your opponent's security and trash a card. One also thing, and I don't really think I could use it right now, but playing the Congo, I don't know if Congo is still a applicable deck choice here of playing, using the Guyomon X Antibody Congo play where you play, I think it's like you play Congo and then you attack your opponent's security, and because of the way the card is worded, it just trashes everything, so nothing returns back to it. I'm not sure if that's still a combo or if they fix that on the JP site. If you know, please let me know in the comments. We have Hades Force. This card is so good. Choose any number of opponent's Digimon and Tamers that play costs add up to play cost of one of your Digimon with Greymon in its name, and delete it, and then one of your Digimon with Greymon can attack your opponent. So I love this card because number one, you get a it gets you so many ways. I don't know how to say it right. It gets you so much advantage. Number one, it's only a 5 cost if you have an X Antibody option in play. Number two, you can hit cards that are wide, or you get cards that are tall using this card, and then you can automatically just attack if it basically giving it an honorary blitz effect. So here you have a 13 cost, you have a 12 cost, you have a 13 cost. That's awesome. You can just get rid of so many cards on the board, unless they of course are in their level 7s, which means that you'll have to figure something else out. But then you have the Hades Force security effect of deleting your opponent's Digimon with the highest play cost. You do not get to choose, you just get to delete it. So it's a good card. 2 of is fine right now. Then we have X Antibody. Everyone knows what X Antibody does. You put it underneath, you attack, you Digivolve into an X Antibody is mainly what it does. Also has the security effect of gaining a memory, then adding to hand. And you can use this card as long as you have a Digimon in play. That's really all it is. I play 3 of them because I think that by the time that you get this card, you'll probably only need to swing once or twice and get rid of everything, and that's fine. Now we're going to go over the Tamers and then some alternate choices, and our Tamers officially ended the cool boy here. So Yuya is a very powerful card. I think that this card is definitely going to be at a 3 of. I could see it going down to 2 if I really need to make room, but 3 is really where I'm at with this card. It's a memory tamer, so it sets you to 3 at the beginning of your turn. If you Digivolve into a Greymon, by suspending the tamer, you can gain 2,000 until the end of your opponent's turn. And if it Digivolved into a same level, it's unaffected by your opponent's effects of your opponent's option cards until your opponent's end of your opponent's turn. So the reason why I really like this deck, especially with the black version too, is that on your opponent's turn, they have to figure out a way of getting over it. And if you're playing something like a Grandis deck, and they may be keeping in their raising area, and they're like, I'm not really ready to promote out, and you have your Yuya, and you give your Digimon 2,000 additional DP, or if you have 2 of these in play and give it 4,000 DP with the Tapirmon in play, this is automatically going to be at 18,000 DP, which means your opponent will have to be able to swing into it. If my math is correct, Grandis can really only go up to 18, because Grandis gets to 4,000 from the it's 4,000 from its own effect, and then it's additionally another 2,000 from the Digiburst effect. I think of the egg that gives it that, so it automatically will be 18. So they have no choice but to attack into BlackWarGreymon, and if there's no way of DPing, reducing, or keeping this at a lower amount, you could redirect it to this card, and they won't be able to actually do any damage to you. So as long as you have a Tapirmon plus 2 Yuyas, then you can keep it there. But there are ways, of course, like I said, playing 1 Metal Greymon gives it the additional 3,000, so that would make it 13,000, 16,000 DP, and then you really only need 1 Yuya to activate. Additionally, it gives it the protection from options, so against stuff like security control or yellow, or even like stuff like Kaitis Breath or Megadeth, this card will be able to survive, and not because it won't be affected by them. So that is why I'm throwing in 3 copies of Yuya, 1 copy of Maki, and the reason why 1 copy of Maki is, number one, it is a good searcher. It does get you a dual color, and a lot of cards in your deck are dual color already, so I think it is a really good card. Additionally, when one of your Digimon digivolves into a 2-color Digimon, you can reduce the cost by 1. Why is this important? Because to avoid passing turn to your opponent, you can actually suspend this tamer, and then you make the cost 3 to digivolve into, and it'll stay your turn. And I think that that is really good to play in this deck. Additionally, we are throwing in 3 copies of Cool Boy because a lot of X antibodies in this deck, and it does get you your pieces. So that is mainly the main deck here. Now we're going to go over some other choices and why I've chosen them, and then we'll talk about some of the matchups and why I think this is probably going to be the best version of the deck. Now we have the Greymon over here. This is from Star Deck 5. End of your opponent's turn. If your opponent didn't attack with a Digimon this turn, draw 1. So sort of like work. First off, it's a 4 cost to play, which I really like about this card. That means that if you really don't have anything in your hand, you can just throw this out, and hopefully it doesn't die, and you'll still be able to do stuff with it and not give your opponent too much memory. But additionally, Greymon here basically rewards you for your opponent not choosing to do anything that turn. Maybe they're gonna just say, "Oh, I'm just gonna put like a a tamer out or something like that, and it passes turn." Then you will be able to draw 1. Or if your opponent just chooses not to attack, because again, if your BlackWarGreymon is something like 18,000 DP, you can easily get over it, and easily defend against it. So this card might be a good inclusion instead of maybe the jamming Greymon. Then we have the Metal Greymon Alterous Mode, just for the main purpose of having the level 5 on top. You can digivolve this onto most, just really the level 4, the X Antibody version of this deck, or you can digivolve it on top of your Metal Greymon here. But mainly it's because it gives you the second protection effect of being able to take 2 cards with the same level out from underneath it to protect it. Just being able to give you some alternate means of protection is really good. And if you don't end up pulling a X Antibody option card in time, this could be just another condition for you to win. Plus it could pop something when digivolving. That's also cool. Additionally, we have the BT5 BlackWarGreymon card, which is security +1 and reboot. Just mainly because it is reboot and it has like additional security +1 effects, I think is really good. It can put a little bit of pressure on your opponent. This might be something to try out at 1 for now, but I think it's good. I don't know if it's going to be a staple in the black version of the deck, but it's something to think about. Additionally, you have Nokia here if you're choosing maybe not to play Maki, which is fine because you can just digivolve it. And, Nokia still works regardless, and it plays out an Agumon or a Gabumon from your hand, and then you can reduce the cost of digivolving by 1 when you digivolve into a Greymon or Omnimon in its name. So this also actually works with Omnimon, which is kind of cool. Which is good. And then you have Chikorimon. Now this card was something I put at the end here. I actually wasn't going to include it initially on the video, but I thought it was a good card. Just like if there are no other reasons to play like the Agumon over here, like the blocker, or you're choosing not to play Tapirmon as a package, I think that the Chikori is a good just card because it is a security effect that you can digivolve 1, and really it's just a black body there. But really, like if they hit into security, maybe they have a card as their mega that says, I don't know, do 5 checks or do a check like Ancient Greymon or something like that. This digivolves it; it doesn't do any more checks, because it doesn't, because it's that card's effect. So that's what I have for you for today. Now in terms of the decks or like what the matchups are like, some of the things I really like about this deck. Is that it can actually get really strong in DP, so that against green decks like the Grandis I mentioned before, they won't be able to swing over. Plus, sometimes you can even do that with a WarGreymon deck. WarGreymon I think can still get over this pretty easily. Plus, it has the deletion effect of end of battle, but it is another option you could choose to use with this deck. Additionally, with most of the other decks, stuff like security control or or Metal Greymon, this card is just going to be able to get rid of those decks very, very easily. And I think that black is back. I think that this deck is really good. I will have to adjust some ratios of it once I do some more testing. But this was just more of a theory today, and I wanted to see what was working, what wasn't working. And I want to know what you guys think. Do you guys like the black version? Do you think the red is going to be more consistent? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and stay classy, my friends.